Hi, I'm Jeff. My wife Judy and I enjoy taking care of our yard. Now that it's fall, we're looking at putting in some new plants. So here's something for you to consider as you do the same thing in your yard. Are there plants that you think about growing up that maybe you had or your neighbors or maybe even somewhere that you traveled that if you look at that plant, it brings back those memories? Well, for me, we're going to show you some of those examples that we brought into our yard. And as you're expanding your yard, maybe something to consider as well. So today we'll look at that and we enjoy our yard. Flowering quince is a good example. These tend to bloom beginning of May, and so growing up in elementary school, we would make construction paper baskets to give to our moms and dads, and we would put these plants in it. Not the easiest plant to grow because they have thorns and they tend to be a bit aggressive, but when you see them bloom, always think back of elementary school. Here's a good example. In high school, I mowed lawns for several people. Mrs. Harder introduced me to this plant. She always made sure I pronounced it correctly, Cotoneaster. Judy isn't a big fan as they tend to sprawl and look a bit messy. In the spring, they have small pink blossoms and berries in late summer. They do well on a slope. We've always had one, and they bring me right back to high school.
So growing up for me, my parents had two plants that I really liked, and I wanted to have them when I had a home. And so one of them was an orange oriental poppy. My mother had 4 plants all in a row under black plastic and white ornamental gravel. And so we brought one of them here, and when we planted it here, it did not just stay in one place. It has now spread and taken over a couple gardens. The other plant that I wanted to have in my own yard was a burning bush. My parents had a huge one in their front yard, and every fall the leaves turned a beautiful bright red. We took a baby plant that was underneath the shrub and started it in our home here. Well, it turns out these plants are very invasive and they sprouted up throughout our yard. And my parents, it never spread. At one point we had about a dozen large bushes, but now that we know how invasive they are, we have removed most of them and probably will get rid of a few more. And finally, a couple years ago, we had a chance to go to Nantucket, and while we were there, the hydrangeas were in bloom. And those were plants that we weren't familiar with. Either one of us had those growing up, so we were not familiar with the different varieties and certainly the colors and the sizes and the range that the hydrangea family can give you. So when we got back, we decided to try a few, and over the years since that trip, we have quite a few hydrangeas, and they're great with the different colors. And certainly if you have some shade, or if you have partial shade, or even some sun, they can do well for you. So that might be something to look into as you expand your garden bed as well. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you watching these videos. Please like or subscribe, and you can find out when the next one comes out. And we hope that you enjoy our yard. Thanks for watching.